Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. My name is Gabrielle Ray and I present cases of unsolved homicides, missing persons, and the unidentified. Today I'll be presenting you the case of Diana Lee Estey, and she has been missing since October 31st, 2016. My puppy wants to say hi. Hi, Oliver. She was born on October 28, 1945. She is a white female who stands at 5'2" and weighs 100 pounds. She has gray hair and green eyes, and what she was last seen wearing is unknown, but possibly either a purple jacket or a gray polar fleece top with pink trim. Her nickname is Di, and she has a lazy left eye. She wore glasses and had her ears pierced. She also had balance problems as well, and also problems with her eyes. She is missing out of Medford, Maine, and she was 71 years old at the time of her disappearance. She was childless and never married and grew up in Medford, and also she was retired from her career as a university registrar in North Carolina. She moved out of state in the 90s and came back in the spring of 2015 to her childhood home. She was in excellent physical and mental health, and she was very active for her age. She loved to walk in the woods near her home and travel around the state to see her loved ones. And on her walks, she never went far from home. She had no signs of dementia, and she was negative for her Alzheimer's screenings during doctor's visits shortly before her disappearance. She was also making extensive repairs to her house, including a new roof, new foundation, and had no indications that she planned to leave the home. She was last seen in the 1100 block at her home on Medford Center Road. She wasn't reported missing for several days because she lived alone and wasn't in contact with her family daily. Although she did not have daily contact, she contacted her friends and her family weekly. Her residence was discovered on November 4th, 2016, unlocked with the lights on and the TV still on. Upon looking into the home, they realized that all of her belongings were still in the home and both vehicles were in the driveway. Her purse was on the table and her car keys were in plain sight, says her friend Kent Black. Kent had actually met her in the summer of 2016 when she volunteered to help out with the renovation of the community center. Him and his wife Lynn socialized occasionally with her before her disappearance and said that she couldn't have gotten far even if she did wander because of her health problems. It was initially believed that she took a walk around her house and ended up getting lost, because Medford actually is very remote, rural, and wooded. And she went missing at the start of hunting season, and there was a very low crime rate in Medford. Friends and family say it was uncharacteristic behavior for her to just disappear. There has also been no activity on her bank accounts since her disappearance. There were only 245 people at the time in Piscataquis County and were all unsettled over her disappearance. Her family and friends conducted multiple searches with the Maine wardens and also led more the following Sunday, even after 2 years of her being missing. Family, friends, and police all had the same goal, which was to find Diana. Her brother Paul says that dogs, horses, and people driving through the woods were all searching. There were divers in the river and at the pond by the house, and they still found nothing. She actually still owned the home in North Carolina of which she moved from, and authorities in North Carolina were also searching there, but to no avail. Police began covering gaps and rechecking areas that may have been missed in old searches, but still nothing. And volunteer searches and aerial searches were also done, but again, to no avail. There were no clues and no articles of clothing that have surfaced belonging to Diana. Searches were actually suspended on November 7th, 2016, briefly upon realizing that she may have actually gone missing on November 2nd. Some of the missing dates also state November 1st and November 2nd as her initial missing date, and I am actually unsure as to why they believe that. Kobuk was the name of one of the canine dogs that helped search for her. Wilderness Search and Rescue, Lincoln County, Waldo County, Franklin County, Mercer CERT, Unity College, Civil Air Patrol, Drigo Search and Rescue, the Maine Search and Rescue Dogs, and the Maine Mounted Search and Rescue Horse Team all aided in the search efforts, as well as helicopters. The warden urged homeowners, hunters, and camp owners to check outbuildings and other structures that could provide a form of shelter. They focused attention to local roadsides near her home, and unfortunately, in the Maine woods, somebody could get lost out there and never be found because of the large acreage. Police were covering all bases and all options, including a recovery mission, but it was like she walked out the door and just vanished. Her disappearance is considered suspicious, and police have not ruled out foul play. "This doesn't make any sense. She had no money," said Kent. And her brother Paul also said she didn't just wander off. Foul play has to be involved. Her brother has believed since 1 week in that someone had taken her, and that there is a strong possibility that she is deceased. Her brother still gets her mail and searches daily for her. A billboard was put up for her in the middle of town on November 4th, 2018, in regards to anybody knowing where her whereabouts are and about a reward. And it seems that there was a decent amount of news updates, and police and searchers did a great job and a lot of work in this case. The police also say that this missing persons case is seemingly unrelated to any other in Maine. Dentals and DNA for Diana are available, but unfortunately fingerprints are unavailable. The family at least wants the dignity of a proper burial. They think about this disappearance every day with absolutely no closure. There is a $12,000 reward issued for any information that could lead law enforcement to her whereabouts. $6,000 was contributed by Paul, and another $6,000 was matched by family and friends and residents of Medford through Kent Black's GoFundMe page, which is now closed to the public. Both the family and police are overwhelmed by the outpouring of support from both the local people and from those far away. If Diana were still here today, she would be 74 years old. Unfortunately, that is all the information I could find on Diana Estey's disappearance, but a couple conclusions could be drawn from this disappearance as well. I was wondering if she had a cell phone that anybody could trace. I know her belongings were left at home, but it did not specify exactly which belongings, so I was wondering maybe if she took a cell phone with her, they could trace it. But from the sounds of it, everything did seem to be left at home. So even if they would trace the cell phone, it really wouldn't amount to much, in my opinion. This disappearance could go any which way. Unfortunately, because there's really not any clues as to where she went, this could be a very open-ended case. One of the conclusions that could be drawn is that since it was hunting season, did a hunter maybe accidentally shoot her thinking she was an animal and killed her because they did see movement in the woods and they were at their post and could not see, and then they took her body and possibly had done something with it so they wouldn't get in trouble. There was no sign of Alzheimer's or dementia in her recent doctor's visits, and I don't believe that she was disoriented and ended up wandering away. I believe that is far out of the question and not even a possibility in this case. I don't also believe that she ran away to start anew, because both of her vehicles were still in the driveway, and not to mention all of her belongings were left at home. And because she was getting such extensive housework done to her home, I don't believe that she would have put all that money into building this home and redoing the whole thing just to leave and not tell anybody where she is. Another reason I don't believe that that is the case is because there was no money taken out of her bank accounts. And I believe that in order to start a new life somewhere, you would at least have to have some money in order to do that. And unfortunately, there was no money taken out of her bank accounts, nothing that they could trace of her. And also, she would have contacted her family by now, especially because not only did she not do it daily, but she did it weekly. So that means she did have some contact with her family and her friends. And the fact that she hasn't had any contact just screams something is wrong here. Her mental state at the time was unknown, at least to the public. There's no mention of any depression or thoughts of suicide, so I don't believe, again, that suicide is an option. And there was no body found, there was no note written, there was no car found near any bridges or anything having to do with that. And not to mention, none of her family members have ever come out and said, hey, I'm worried about her because she's been depressed, she's been suicidal. There's none of that. So I do not believe that suicide is a viable option either. Was this a mere accident? Because she had eye and balance problems, did she fall somewhere or get hurt and nobody could find her and she couldn't call for help because she was in the middle of the woods and possibly have succumbed to the elements? I'm praying that that is not the case, but it's unlikely, but it could have happened. And not to mention, she seemed okay in her recent doctor's visit. There was no note of anything really seriously wrong. So I don't know if this could have been a possibility, but we have to keep our options open. Unfortunately, what I believe is the most probable cause of this disappearance is foul play. And the reason I believe that is because there were all belongings left at her house. Her lights and her TV were still on, meaning that if she did leave on her own accord, she was planning on coming back. And this could have been absolutely anything having to do with foul play. It could have been an abduction, a robbery gone wrong, ran into foul play on a walk somewhere. It could be anything. And I think that's what the family is wondering, is that they need closure to this. And they're just wondering what possibly happened to their loved one. And I think that she was simply just running out somewhere and planned to come back, or she didn't even plan to leave her house at all. The lights in the TV being on and not shut off and her door being unlocked just screams foul play to me. And I feel like if she left her home willingly, she would have shut her lights off, shut her TV off, locked her doors. But none of that happened here, and I don't believe that she was planning on leaving for a long period of time. She was also very active and able-minded, and she seemed like a very smart lady who just minded her own business and kept to herself. She didn't seem to have any enemies, so I believe that this could have been a random act of foul play. Maybe even her opening the door to somebody that she knew or she didn't know. I'm leaning more towards somebody she didn't know, but you never know. It could have been somebody that she had been acquainted with or just knew from passing. There was everything in this case points to suspicious circumstances, and foul play more than likely occurred, in my opinion. But even her brother agrees, and police believe that something more had happened here than just her simply walking away from her life. If she was abducted, was she taken elsewhere out of the state, or is she still in Maine? The Maine woods around her home are extremely large, and there are so many places to look and many chances for a body to be missed. I actually had gone on Google Maps and I saw where her home was and the woods surrounding her home, and unfortunately there is a creek around her home as well. And I think that just the landscape alone gives me the chills, and it leads me to believe that something more had happened here. This family deserves justice, and they will not give up looking until they find where their missing loved one is. Friends and family are worried sick, and they are heartbroken over this, and as am I, because I just want to know where her whereabouts are. And I believe that somebody out there knows something as to where Diana Lee Estey is. If you or anybody you know are the one with information on this case, please do not hesitate to call the Maine State Police at 207-973-3700. Her agency case number is SP16-103540, and her NamUs case number is MP37046. I am a firm believer in karma and also a firm believer in justice, and I believe that in time, somebody out there will know something about this case. And if you are the person who knows something, do not hesitate to call. Even the littlest tip could be the case or the key that breaks this case wide open. Once again, she was born on October 28th, 1945. She is missing out of Medford, Maine since October 31st, 2016. She is a white female who stands at 5'2" and weighs 100 pounds. She has gray hair and green eyes. Her last seen wearing was unknown, but could possibly have been a purple jacket or a gray polar fleece top with a pink trim. She has a lazy left eye, wears glasses, and has her ears pierced. Her nickname is Di, and she had eye and balance problems. This family deserves answers, and so does the community of Medford, Maine. They have been doing nothing but searching over the years and being nothing but helpful towards the family, and I believe that it is time for this case to be closed. Please do not hesitate to call, and I really hope that anybody with any information, if this does reach the right person, will find it in their heart to give the police a call and just tell them what you know. And you can remain anonymous and or give your name if you'd like, but I believe that it is time for this case to be closed. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great night.